Hey, what's going on, guys? The other day, Colby Covington, quote unquote, called out Ian Machado Garry. Well, Ian Machado Garry has finally responded, and he absolutely destroyed the former three-time failed title challenger, Colby Covington. And honestly, I see a lot of people saying in the video where I covered Colby's call out, they're like, Joey, you're just biased against Colby and you're biased for Ian Machado Garry. That is not the point I'm trying to get across. The point I'm trying to get across in these videos is that Colby Covington will not take this fight. Colby Covington is actively ducking this fight, and people are eating it up just because it's trash talk. And we're going to look at an interview that Colby Covington did since the call out. He posted the call out that very day. He did an interview with Submission Radio where, you know, if you watch the interview, and we're going to go through a good portion of it, he is completely ducking Ian Machado Garry, and it is clear as day, which I already talked about in my previous video, but we're going to take a look at the Submission Radio interview, and then we're going to take a look at Ian Machado Garry's response to Colby Covington, where he completely destroyed him. I know some people are going to say, oh, it's cringe. Oh, you know, this wasn't a good response from Ian Machado Garry. Those people are blinded by their bias and dislike of Ian Machado Garry. That's all that is, because this was an excellent response to Colby Covington, and he absolutely destroyed him, and we'll get to that in a second. But let's start right away. I'm not going to watch this again. I have this up on the screen. I'll link it down in the description. But this was Colby's original call-out video, where essentially he recorded this on a yacht. He probably rented the yacht by the hour, and he was stumbling over all of his words, so he had to do about 70 different cuts, and it was a 2-minute video. And it was the 3 stipulations. We're going to get to that with the Submission Radio because he kind of rehashes the call out in the Submission Radio interview. But that's essentially where this all started. And he said, oh, Ian Machado Garry, you have 24 hours to respond. Now, this very same day that he released this, he did an interview with Submission Radio, who typically, you know, interviews Colby Covington. By the way, you know, I hate crapping on MMA media so much. And I understand why they do what they do. But the way MMA media works, and the reason MMA media is so broken, is because there's people who are just diehard loyal to the UFC for one reason or another. Usually they're scared of Dana White. They're scared of getting basically blacklisted by the UFC. But then you have the MMA media that does interviews of fighters. And what you have is you have very sensitive fighters who aren't forced to do media at all. So if you upset them with any, you know, kind of hard questions or pressing them on any particular statement, you end up not getting access. So you have, quote unquote, reporters, interviewers, whatever you want to call them, kind of just doing softball interviews because they can't ever press anybody on anything for fear of losing access to that fighter. And that's exactly what you have in this interview, because you can just see the Submission Radio guys are totally biased for Colby Covington. They just throw him softball question after softball question, almost like it reminds me of some of those fans from the Q&As at the UFC, and they don't even bother to push Colby Covington, who's literally sexually harassing somebody's wife in this very interview. They just kind of laugh it off. But one thing I want to cover before we even get into this interview is I always get people responding to these videos and they're like, dude, don't you know that Colby Covington's a character? Don't you know that this is Colby Covington's shtick? You don't get away with acting like a clown. You don't get away with saying ridiculous things just because you can claim, oh, it's just a character, it's just a shtick. Imagine someone's harassing your wife, sexually harassing your wife. Imagine someone's, you know, talking about your family nonstop. We don't just get to excuse poor behavior. Oh, well, it's just a character. No, these are the words that came out of his mouth. He needs to be held accountable for these words, and hopefully he is held accountable with a fight against Ian Machado Garry, because that's the only fight to make right now. But I'm telling you right now, even if you love Colby, you want Colby to beat up Ian Machado Garry, that would be the best day of your life. He is lying to you. He is actively dodging this fight. And we're going to look at it right away. He goes in, you know, to the 3 stipulations for this fight. And you can already tell from the very first, like, 5 seconds I'm going to show you here, he does not want the Ian Machado Garry fight whatsoever. Listen to this.
He wants this fight. He begged on his hands and knees. Oh, Colby, please fight me. Please fight me. It doesn't really matter who I fight. You know, I get a big paycheck. You know, I'm the biggest star in this division. So it doesn't really matter if I fight him or I fight Joe Schmo over at the MMA Journalism Factory.
So he's already saying it doesn't matter who I fight. Also, apologies for the quality of this interview. It's Colby's internet connection. Apparently he can't afford internet. So he has a horrible internet connection. It's breaking up the entire time, but the audio is good, but it does get a little choppy at times. So that's not me. That's the Colby interview. And by the way, I will link this interview down below if you want to go check it out. But listen to this.
I'm getting a big paycheck. So, like for him, if he wants to come out, if he really wants this fight, I need to know that you're serious about business, because the last time I saw we did business in December, he didn't show up for the press conference. He's not reliable. I'm a company man. I love this company.
They weren't scheduled to fight each other. Oh, he didn't show up for a press conference because he pulled out of his fight because he was sick. Okay.
UFC, Hunter Campbell, Dana White, and my boys, Ari Emanuel. So I love all those, respect those guys. I want to do good business. I don't know if this guy's dependable. He can show up. So he needs to show me that he's a businessman. He wants his fight. If he wants his fight, he has 3 stipulations.
So here he's about to go into the stipulations. But you see, and I showed this in another video, not this interview, but I showed kind of what Colby's doing. He wants every fight but this fight. He wants the Wonderboy Thompson fight in particular. So he's setting up these stipulations that are basically, they're never going to happen in a million years. So then he could say, oh, well, Gary didn't do this, so then I'm not fighting him. That's what he's doing here.
Guys, I told the world today on social media he has 3 stipulations if he wants this fight. First one is he needs to turn his comments on.
He needs to turn his combats on. I'm not really sure what that means. But, of course, obviously Colby's going to stumble through this interview as well. But you see how he was like, I told everyone today on social media, like, this dude lives online. This is one of those people who's like screaming ratio and, oh, yeah, I got so many likes online. I'm so cool. By the way, Colby's, his star power never existed to begin with, but his quote-unquote star power is down in the drains. His last interview from a month ago with Submission Radio did 39,000 views. This interview from a couple days ago only has 43,000 views. Nobody's watching this shit anymore because the guy is just a fighter that honestly is completely washed up, has been sitting on the sidelines and isn't good anymore. All he does is spout off at the mouth and just sycophantically worship political leaders. That's the only fans that he has left. But let's listen to him go into the stipulations again.
On social media, on Instagram, him and his wife turn off their comments. They're all up in their feelings. If you can't take words, you definitely can't get locked in a UFC octagon with Colby Chaos Covington. So that's the first stipulation. They both
think about how corny that is. This man is saying, if you don't allow random strangers to harass you and your family online, I'm not fighting you. Think about, that's how desperately Colby does not want this fight. He's offering up these stipulations that are never going to come to fruition so that he can pretend that Ian Machado Garry ducked him. He is selling you wolf tickets for a fight that's never going to happen, and people's eating it up. People are eating it up. They're like, oh, this is so great. He's calling him out. No, he's ducking him. He's not calling him out.
Both have to turn on their comments.
Well, I don't know if he wants them to turn them off or on now. I'm confused, but he gets into that later.
Before the fight. Second stipulation, since we know that Ian Garry doesn't wear the pants in that relationship, Layla needs to get on her knees and hands and beg for it. I want to hear her best explanation of why that I should come out and fight him. Because what does it do for me? Why should I go back in the rankings? This is, he's a bum. Like, I don't need time. He can sit, her husband can sit in the corner and watch why she does this, just like they do in the bedroom every night.
Why should I go back in the rankings? Colby, you have 0 ranked wins. On his entire resume, there's not a single win. And Ian Machado Garry points that out in his response. Doesn't have a single ranked win right now.
So, that second stipulation. Layla needs to get on her hands and knees and beg for why this fight happens.
By the way, he's alluding to, oh, she needs to give me a blowjob. That's what he's saying. He's essentially alluding to that. He does it more in this interview, which is completely bizarre and weird. I guess when you're 36 going on 37, you only pay OnlyFans models to hang out with you on Instagram. You don't have a wife. You don't have a family. I guess that's what you typically do. You talk about other men's wives that you're jealous of.
And then third stipulation, boys, and this is a foregone conclusion. When I whip the shit out of this little fucking goofball, fucking Irish ghost-looking motherfucker, he has to let his wife star on my shoulder in the next America's Pick, My Bookie, America's Pick of the Week video. So
there you go. There's just 3 stipulations that are never going to happen. Not a single one's going to happen. Turn on the comments. Your wife needs to beg me for it, and your wife needs to be in a commercial with me on my Instagram. It's just never going to happen. He's putting those out there because he does not want this fight. He knows that they're never going to happen, so he can say, oh, I tried to give him a chance, and he goes into it more in this video. You'll hear it time and time again here, where he's just actively listing. I mean, the majority of this interview, honestly, is him listing reasons why he's not fighting Ian Machado Garry. That's what he's doing here. Listen to this.
Parallel. I'm leaving a legacy that it doesn't matter. I'm gonna clear out this division. They'll know who the best welterweight of all time was. So, it doesn't matter if I fight him. So if he wants to fight, he's got to come through with the 3 stipulations.
He's got to come through with the 3 stipulations if he wants to fight. By the way, his legacy is going to clear out the division. That is great. This guy is a 3-time title challenger, has never won once, and has no current ranked wins. Has one of the worst resumes in the history of the sport. People have propped him up because he worships a political leader. He has gotten privilege from Dana White because he worships a political leader. That is it. He would have never fought for the title against Leon Edwards, where he got absolutely dominated. So it just, again, he needs to fulfill these stipulations. See how he keeps harping on it. Because he wants to have the ability to duck Garry and not face the repercussions of being told, oh, you're scared of Garry. And again, he gets into it more. Listen to this. And this is just so weird, harping nonstop on the Instagram comments. Listen to this.
Ultimate feelings champions. They're up in their feelings, throwing out the comments. Man, if you can't take the comments from the people that make this company go round, like, man, that's sad. Like, it's not worth my time. Like, you don't deserve to be locked in a cage with me.
See, again, harping on the comments. You can't turn on your comments. You don't deserve to fight me. That is craziness. If you don't allow random people online who typically are hiding behind anonymous names and anonymous pictures, if you don't allow them to harass you and your family online anonymously, then no way I'm going to fight you. No way I'm going to fight you. I don't have a single ranked win on my resume. I've won 1 fight in the last 2 years. He hasn't even won 1 fight in the last 2 years. Because now it's been since the 2-year anniversary since he beat Masvidal. So, again, harping on that. And he harps on it a little bit more here. Listen to this. Again, he's acting like not having your Instagram comments on is the worst thing in the world. Listen to this.
Let the fans speak because the fans deserve that. They should be able to get in the comments and tell you about what they think about you and what they see, like what your characteristics and personality is. And everybody knows that it stinks and it's disgusting. It's despicable. And, they're going to have to do that if they want this fight.
Again, they're going to have to do it if they want the fight. And disgusting and despicable. This is a guy who talks about people's dead parents. This is a guy who talks about people who were in car accidents who suffer from traumatic brain injuries. This is a guy who takes trash talk to the next level, and so be it. But he's saying, oh, yeah, they don't turn their Instagram comments on. What it is Colby is the epitome of an internet troll that has some fighting skills. He has some fighting skills, very boring fighting skills, but he has some fighting skills. And he wants desperately, he likes, oh, yeah, we really ratioed him online. He wants to see the fans harassing Garry because then he can feel like he's popular because no one likes Colby. Even when Colby was quote-unquote a star against Jorge Masvidal, who was a bigger draw than him, they sold under 400,000 pay-per-view buys. He's never won anything, but he gets online engagement. Not even anymore, but he gets online engagement based off the fact he says these ridiculous things and stumbles over his words. Now, this next thing, and I know people are going to say, Joey, he's lying. He's playing a character, blah, blah, blah. Just watch how delusional this is and watch how the media members react to this, the Submission Radio interview guys. This is crazy. Dude's just completely making up weird shit about him and interactions with celebrities. And this is so corny and embarrassing, in my opinion. And again, after that part, he goes on to harass Garry's wife again. And I just think, I think there should be some pushback from media members in this situation. Listen to this.
Every day, from hot models, from Megan Fox, from different ladies on the internet.
He's saying he's getting DMs from hot models and Megan Fox. And the media members like, oh, haha, you're getting DMs from Megan Fox? Listen to this. I mean, talk about, geez, Louis. I mean, kissing a dude's feet, it's embarrassing just to have access to him. But pretty soon that'll go away because Colby's going to be getting like 10,000 interview views pretty soon.
So, Megan Fox? Megan Fox DM'd you?
She DM'd me, yeah, before the last fight.
What did she say?
By the way, he's about to expose his character right here, and he realizes it. He exposes that he's a character. But by the way, I hope these guys don't really believe this. I don't know if they do and they're just playing along or what. I don't know what's going on. I hope they don't really believe this.
She just said, she respected the character that, the character that I am. I'm a larger-than-life personality.
He tries to spin it, but he exposed that he's playing a character, but it doesn't matter if he's playing a character. He's a clown, If you go around murdering people and you're like, oh, that's just my alter ego, doesn't matter. You're still a piece of shit.
My personality up to 11, I didn't care what people think of me. So she respects people like that aren't afraid to go against the grain and just be who they are. So she also said that, she thinks that I get too much hate and, I'm not as bad as they say I am. So
if anyone believes that Megan Fox is DMing Colby Covington saying, you get way too much hate and you're not as bad as people think that you are, They need mental help.
So, you know, shout out to Megan Fox for the support and you know, being a fan of me and my work. We're just getting started. I'm gonna bring that belt back to you, baby.
Imagine believing that. Matter of fact, actually, you know what? Colby Covington's sister DM'd me the other day on Instagram and said she's a big fan of my videos exposing Colby Covington because she thinks her brother's a piece of shit. She was DMing me the other day. So shout out to Colby Covington's sister, Candace. Shout out to her. Appreciate the DM. I'm glad that you're a big fan. Thank you very much. And then basically you hear them laughing and then watch the next question. And then he gets on to basically sexually harassing Gary's wife again.
Yeah, that's some real what's it called? Inspiration. We're all gonna do it for Megan Fox. I was gonna ask you though. You want Layla to beg? What are you looking for? Are you looking for a video? Like what exactly are you after in this stipulation?
Think about that's a media member, considered a media member. I don't know exactly what they call themselves, if they're just interviewers or what. Yeah, what are you looking for from Ian Machado Garry's wife? Are you looking for a video or what? Because you're being very vague. Because what he's doing is he's dancing around basically sexual acts, which he knows isn't going to happen, but he just likes to do that and kind of skirt around the edges of it. And you'll see his answer here.
Yeah, so stipulation number 2, I'm just looking for Layla to get on her hands and knees. You know, she's used to being there for many different men, you know, as she stated in her book, you know, so.
Her satire book, that's what Colby's mentioning here. But again, look, she needs to get on her hands and knees like she has for many different men. And it just goes on. I'm not even showing you. I mean, think about it. I'm just quickly going through this interview here. I'm not even showing you all the opportunities or all the moments, not opportunities, where he ducks Gary. He ducks him again. Here, listen to this. He's like, I'm not fighting him if he doesn't turn on them Instagram comments.
Oh, you know, that's why there will be a contract and there will be a court of law. They will have.
By the way, this looks like Brett Okamoto's camera quality now, 480p. But again, look, now he's talking about there's going to be a contract for these stipulations.
To fulfill their obligations and their word. You give someone your word. It doesn't matter if your feelings are hurt after I crush your soul. You still got to follow through. So definitely got to turn the comments on because that's just pathetic. Come on, guys, think about it. Think about if I turn my comments off. Dude,
nobody cares, dude. It's social media. Who cares if you turn your comments off? Nobody cares. Nobody even watches your pay-per-views, Colby. All right, last 2 clips of him ducking, and then we're going to look at Gary's response. I just can't believe people aren't seeing right through this. They're acting like Colby called him out, or yeah, Colby called Gary out. He's not. He's actively ducking him. Watch this again. He makes it like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to fight him if he doesn't do this and doesn't do that.
Dude, he makes penis. Like what? You know, this is why you have to fulfill these obligations. Because why? Why am I going to waste my time to fight you otherwise? I can fight anybody.
Again, he can fight anyone. Fulfill these obligations. And the last clip. And this is honestly embarrassing from the media, but also embarrassing from Colby. You can see they're just trying to kind of suck up to Colby here. And they're like, yeah, Ian Machado Garry definitely got more boos than you for his last fight. I know you got booed at 296 when you put on that absolute shit stain of a performance against Leon Edwards where you didn't fight at all. You lost almost every single round, then complained the judges rigged it against you because of your political beliefs. But watch the way they ask this question. They should be embarrassed of themselves. The way you're worshiping a fighter just for access to them, at what point does it make an interview just basically useless? This is a WWE style interview. It might as well be basically scripted from the start to finish, because listen to the way he asked this question. I thought this was completely embarrassing, and that's why I had to include this.
I mean, I hope we get to find out.
Look, I wanted to include that too, because he's even questioning it's probably never going to happen, because Colby clearly doesn't want this fight because he's worried about losing to Gary after all the shit he talked.
I like the matchup. I find it quite interesting. Let me play devil's advocate for a second. Obviously, there was a huge reaction after your last fight against Ian, right? There was a lot of boos after the fight, but after...
He meant Leon there. He meant Colby got a lot of boos after the fight with Leon.
After Ian's fight, there was arguably more boos. And I'm wondering, what do you make of the notion that, like, he's arguably the most hated guy at welterweight right now? A fight for you right now against Ian, it works. It's a great way to get, like, a lot of those fans back. What do you make of that notion?
So this just goes to show they desperately want Colby to get a little bit of popularity back, because they're like, what do you think about Gary getting booed more than you? And by the way, my video from a couple months ago, Ian Machado Garry's everything Colby Covington wishes he was, just aged so well, because Colby wants to be hated to a point that he's popular. Colby's hated to a point now people just don't care what he has to say and they don't care to watch him fight because his last few fights have just been absolute shit performances, especially the title fight against Leon Edwards. And people have turned on him. People aren't watching him anymore. And he's like, well, you know, you better take on Ian Machado Garry because this is the way you can earn fans back. And that's why I think it's such a disgrace that Colby's ducking him, because Colby fighting Garry, if you're a Colby fan, if you're Colby himself, if you're a Colby teammate, it makes the most sense for Colby because a lot of people blindly hate Garry. There's also people, obviously, I'm not just saying you can't hate Garry for legitimate reasons, but I'm saying there's a lot of people that just have this, you know, crazy blind hate towards Garry. Colby could earn some of his fans back, like he points out, by beating Garry. That's the biggest fight Colby can get right now, and Ian Machado Garry points that out in his response. But we'll listen to Colby's response, and then we'll get to Gary's response here in a second.
You know, I make it the notion that I just want to do the biggest and best fights for the UFC. It doesn't really matter what he is or what he's done. I mean, people hate him because he's a little prick, and he's just not a good human being. I mean, it's just everything he stands upon, and him and his wife and his family is just, it's disgusting. And
so there you go. Basically, he doesn't want the fight. All right. Now, since then, Ian Garry put out a video where he looked at his watch and he said, I'll respond on my own timeline. And people were like, oh, this is so cringe and blah, blah, blah. And then finally the next day, he posted a response. I don't have the video on YouTube, so I posted it on my Twitter. This is the response from Ian Machado Garry where he absolutely destroyed Colby. And this is a 1.5-minute video. And there was some editing in the video of putting images in different video packages, but there's not constant jump cuts. Okay, Garry could string together a couple sentences without having to having to edit it together, 70 different times because you're running out of time on your yacht rental because Colby probably didn't want to pay for an extra hour to record his video and he keeps stumbling over his words. Here's Gary's response.
Listen here, Colby Chaos Covington. You are in no position to tell me what I should be doing in life. You'll do as you're told. And down! And down! And down!
There, he says, you're in no position to tell me what I'm going to do. And then he points out, again, failed 3-time title challenger. Don't even bring up the interim belt. Dude's lost 3 title shots. He does not have a ranked win, which Garry will point out as well. Colby's in no position to call his shots right now.
He gave me 3 stipulations, all of which had nothing to do about fighting, but we're all talking about my wife.
Layla, get on your hands and knees and beg.
I don't know how you were raised.
Again, I mean, this is perfect from Garry. Perfect. All you do is talk about my wife. And what he's doing here, and I talked about this with his MMA Hour interview, he's backing Colby into a corner. He's making it known to the public, listen, these stipulations aren't going to happen. You can't duck me. You're not going to duck me. This fight makes sense for you. And he's trying to back Colby into a corner where there's no way he can turn this down because the public will turn on him for ducking Garry, even the people who want to see Colby beat Garry.
Women aren't property, and my wife definitely ain't no trophy. You should be focusing on me. I'm the one who's in that octagon with you. I'm the one who's going to punch a hole in your head. So stop swerving me and keep Layla's name out your mouth.
Stop swerving me. Exactly. And you know what's funny? So many people say Gary's so affected by Colby's trash talk and he was so scared to be on a press conference stage. He's literally posting Colby's trash talk on his Twitter right here in this next clip of this kind of call out of Colby, actual call out of Colby, because only one side of the fight actually wants to fight, and that's Ian Machado Garry. He posted a clip of Colby, talking shit at the UFC 296 press conference.
How many of you guys have fucked Ian Garry's wife?
You're not America's favorite fighter. What you are is a peak underperformer. You're the only person in UFC history to lose 3 world title fights, and you haven't got a single win against anybody in the top 15 right now.
I mean, this is like, people are going to say this is cringe. People are going to say Garry doesn't. Oh, this was such a bad call out from Garry. Gary's speaking facts here. Speaking facts. You've lost 3 title fights. You don't have a current top 15 ranked win.
Now, so Colby, why should I fight you? I can think of one reason. I challenge you to an I quit match where one of us has to say, I quit. I quit. And whoever says the words I quit has to retire. Gloves off, center of the octagon, sayonara, my friend. I'm going to be the final chapter in your legacy of failure. I am going to rid the UFC of Colby Covington for good. And I'm going to make MMA great again.
So there you go. There's Gary's call out. Absolutely perfect call out. Keep my wife's name out of your mouth. You're offering stipulations that have nothing to do with the fight. And then at the end, I know it's a little WWE-esque, but the general theme is, look, whoever loses this fight has to retire. And I absolutely love that. Now, whether that would actually happen, I don't know. Is Colby actually going to retire if he loses? But I love that thought. Going into this fight, loser has to retire. And Garry says, I'm going to retire you and make MMA great again. I don't know whoever came up with this, if it was Garry, if it was his wife. I know people are going to say, oh, yeah, Layla really wrote some nasty lines for her husband to talk shit to Colby. I don't care who wrote it. Colby or who wrote it. Now I'm speaking like Colby Covington right now. I don't care who wrote it. This was a perfect call out for Garry to show the public that Colby Covington is ducking him because Colby can't call any shots right now. But I truly believe no matter if you're a Garry fan, if you're a Colby fan, Colby does not want this fight. Colby only wants Wonderboy. He wants the dead carcass of Wonderboy Thompson. He only wants to fight guys who are on losing streaks, who are close to 40 years old, so he can get back on the winning track. And he is terrified of losing to Ian Machado Garry. So what he's going to do is try to duck him. He's going to try to wait him out. He's going to try to sit on the sidelines and hope that Garry takes another fight, because then it won't make sense for him if Garry wins another fight, and that way he can completely dodge this fight. So what he's trying to do is he's trying to get the fans on his side and kind of attack that low-hanging fruit of calling someone's wife a whore and saying this and saying that about someone's family. And he's attacking that low-hanging fruit when he has no actual intentions of making this fight come to fruition. But Ian Machado Garry does, and Ian Garry says, look, if I lose this fight, I will retire. If you lose the fight, you have to retire. I would love to see that actual stipulation go into this fight, because I personally believe that Garry would smash Colby Covington badly, and I want to see it. Colby talked all this shit. Let's see if he can back it up. If you hate Garry, you should want to see this fight too. We haven't seen his grappling fully tested, so who knows? Maybe Covington could take him down and just grind him out in the fight. So you don't know. Hopefully this fight comes to fruition. I don't think it does unless the UFC absolutely forces Covington to take this fight. But we know Dana and the UFC shows favoritism towards Covington because Covington is a mouthpiece for Donald Trump. He's a sycophant for Donald Trump, and we know Dana White is as well. Loves to push him on the pay-per-view broadcast and whatnot. So they might try to save Colby and maybe give him a Stephen Wonderboy Thompson instead. Only time will tell, but I'm telling you right now, if it's up to Colby and he's not forced, he will duck Ian Machado Garry like his life depends on it. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe, and thank you so much for watching.